Good afternoon. My name is Joe Bandel, and I am the last Rosicrucian. Wow, what a week! What a couple weeks! This is going to be like a Gaia Ascension update, or kind of just an update on what I think is happening, what's going on with the world, what's going on with me. But it's also also going to be just kind of a from the heart, uh, straight out, just a talk. Uh, Last weekend, oh, what do you, my sister's daughter's son. So that's kind of a nephew of some kind, right? Kind of a couple generations, though, whatever. Graduated, and you know how you get your graduation invitation, and you go and you hand over $20 or something like that. So I was over there. I had a kind of a nice visit, but I'd never really known or talked to my nephew before, and I knew he'd had a lot of trouble. He was getting in and out of trouble or whatever, and so he graduated a little late, basically, but he graduated. And as I talked to him, he said, well, he was going in the Air Force in January. And I was kind of happy for him because, well, I spent 8 years in the Air Force, and it, it can be good for a person, actually, if they give it a chance. Um, but that's kind of beside the point for what I'm doing. The point I was getting at was it's like when you graduate from high school and you're kicked out of the nest, or it's like no more school. Got to start a job, got to start working. I entered life, that kind of a thing. And that's the energy that I've been kind of experiencing myself. Is it's kind of a graduating from the old and moving into the new, and we'll call that the ascension move that I'm doing. I mentioned a little bit about it before, but I'm understanding a little more about it, and it's kind of scary in a way, but in a way kind of exciting because I can confirm that uh, I'm definitely moving into a new territory. What I'm what I'm going to be doing is I'm still going to be uh, up, offering some meditations a little bit here and there, and I'm going to try to do weekly updates like I'm doing right now for the people who want it, and I'm going to be still doing my podcast with the short stories because I have lots of short stories that I can do, and if I have to pop one out and try and work on it, that's not going to be too bad. But I am. I've decided the the things going on around and whatever. I've been decided I'm going to go back and I'm going to finish that trilogy that I started years ago, over 20 years ago. I finished the first book of the trilogy knowing that someday I really wanted to start it, but I've always been hesitant and I've been kind of afraid of my own creativity, if you will, uh, which sounds kind of silly, but I'm feeling like I've done no translating at all this summer. Just been waiting for whatever to clarify or come out. And it's not. And what's really, when I do the examination, the self-examination, I'm finding out that I've done most of the good stuff. The short stories are still pretty good, but some of the novels that I've done, uh, well, they're not. Well, they're okay. I would say that they're not up to the level of my expectations. And I'm thinking, I could do better. I could write a story that's a lot better than some of the ones that I'm translating. But I'd been too chicken to kind of do it. And I kept thinking, you got to do this, you got to do this, and be safe, playing it safe. And just like my nephew being, okay, go out in the world now, I'm kind of in that energetic spot where it's okay, go out and do something, write your own stuff now, and don't worry about the rest. So I am just beginning in that. I'm. It's just the last couple days that's finally finalized for me. I just ordered Scrivener, which is a writing software designed for writing novels, because it kind of helps. So I have a learning curve to do there, stuff like that. Um, but it's kind of like, okay, this is important. Now, when we talk about Gaia's ascension, I've thought about this, looked at it, and all this stuff, and it's kind of like there's nothing to say. Everybody out there is doing their own thing, and nothing wrong with that. I mean, people have to do their own thing, but here I am trying to, okay, maybe I'll help, maybe I'll try to help people out by offering this information, stuff like that. And it's like compete, it's kind of like, well, no, nobody's real, very, I shouldn't say nobody, I should say, I'm grateful for some of the people that are interested in what I produce. But basically, that well is running dry. I'm not going to be offering that much anymore. What I do want to share, I mean, and also it's because it's too late. If you haven't been working on the root chakra, if you haven't been working on uh, activating all the chakra centers in your body so that they're communicating with each other, you're toast the way it is. I'm gonna be honest, and I'm gonna share something. And that's what I said is from the heart. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, when I met my wife, this is my second wife, the one I lived with for 25 years, who's dead now. Um, she is a powerful soul. She is an old soul. She is a professional psychic, and we had our share of clashes. But what happened is we kind of brought out the worst in each other and healed healed that. In other words, there's something about the relationship that we had that kind of allowed us to learn how to transmute black shit, how to transmute trapped, repressed emotional stuff, to release it and transmute it into something that's neutral. In other words, how to integrate the shadow aspect. And in the back of my mind, there was something that always was saying, I've got to be working on transmuting as much of this as I can, because there's going to be a time when I'm going to need it. I mean, I'm going to run out. And I saw both my wife and my best friend since first grade, who just died of cancer last winter. I saw both of those people be destroyed by disease because of the activation of their shadow aspect. They were working, trying to release this negativity, this dark energy, and transmute it. But there was so much that was coming up. There was so much that ultimately it killed them. It killed them slowly. It killed them through horrible disease. My friend, it was uh, colon cancer. Annie, it was uh, strokes, along with other things. And me, I was trying harder than either one of them. I was pushing the envelope. I was using my meditations. I was working with tantric energies, uh, trying everything I could to just kind of cleanse my system, if you will. And I still had things that would go wrong. I had two pulmonary embolisms, and I'm not going to go into other things, but other things too. One of them, for example, my hip is getting really bad or whatever, and it started to flare up with a couple other concerns. But I'm like, I'm working these meditations, and I'm going to talk about the latest meditation. The latest meditation, it draws powerful energies. It works with all 7 chakra centers, and as you're working with all of these chakra centers, you can sense the energy swirling out. So it is opening these chakra centers. It's generating energy with these chakra centers that I can use for healing, that I can use any way that I want, that I can use for astral projecting or protection or magical purposes or whatever. And I'm really focusing, and I'm doing 2 meditations a day, and I'm focusing it on health. Why am I focusing it on health? Because that's what's flaring up. And if it's possible to alleviate some of these flare-ups, if it's possible to rejuvenate, if it's possible to catch these things before it gets too far, I'm going to give it a try. I'm not worried particularly because we all are going to end up leaving this world someday, and I'm well, I'm ready. I'm not saying how. Okay, how would I say this? I don't care if I could go tomorrow. It's not that I don't like or want or whatever that kind of thing. I'm just saying that I've done my homework. I'm ready to go. I've built up. I've developed my astral bodies. I am active in the astral planes, the etheric planes. I know what is waiting out there. So I know what to expect. And I'm kind of like, okay, uh, that's going to be pretty cool. But I'm and I've actually reached the point. Okay, well, what is this flare up of these physical things other than what both my wife and my friend died from? That was the flare ups there too. In other words, there's something destructive in each one of us that is self destructive. And the thing is, can we catch it and neutralize it before it destroys us? And my wife and my friend, they couldn't. I'm hoping that I can. And we're talking about God. It's been like 30 years of transmuting, learning how to transmute this stuff. It's like there's an endless pit of black shit that you gotta go through, transmute, clear, bring into awareness, so that you have these clear energy channels. And I'm succeeding. These meditations that I'm doing are succeeding. And the point, the whole point of this is, I don't know how anybody else can do it if they're not doing it as hard as I am. In other words, everybody's, this is my belief. This is what I believe where we're at right now in the world. Everybody's shadow is going to erupt, not only going to, it is in the process of erupting as the stresses build. Our world is getting crazier and crazier, more insane and more violent and more fearful. And that's happening because of the eruption of the shadow. And that's something that's individual. Because I can't help anybody with that. It's yours. What's erupting in your life is your own self-defeating things. Just like what's erupting in my life is my self-defeating things. But something like my meditation will help. That's all that I'm saying. I'm not pushing it or anything like that. I'm just saying that uh, I'm giving up on trying to tell anybody anything else. I will give updates on what I think is happening, where the activity is, what's really going on, or some insights that way. But uh, we are at the point, everybody's on their own. And if you haven't developed your chakra centers, if you have, especially the root chakra, because the root chakra is the survival chakra. It's the survival energies. It's the chakra center that's going to be the dominant one for the next 2,000 years. And what you see everywhere I look, what I'm seeing is people's lives are exploding. Some people are handling it a lot better than others, but I personally don't know of anybody that's really thriving. Now, is that can I say that honestly? Because actually, I'm I think I'm doing pretty stable. Things could be better, but things could be a lot worse. But I'm seeing a lot of people out there, and what's happening is things are flaring up in their lives too. And the little flare ups that I'm experiencing can be fairly minor, especially if through this meditation I can mitigate or correct it. So I'm going to try to say it again, summarize it again, and say, okay, there's all these people out there talking about ascension. They're talking about, oh, you're moving into the 5D and all this stuff, and then you can create the world just by visualizing it. And I'm like, before you can do that, you got to clear out your shadow and all the repressed stuff. And that's what nobody's talking about. In other words, you got to roll up your sleeves and do some work. The meditation may be too hard or difficult for some people, but if you can do something like that meditation, if you can start working these energy centers and working with the energy, uh, your chances of successfully getting through these next few years is significantly increased. So again, I'm there's not really anything to say. Uh, in the back of my mind, 20, 30 years ago, I sensed that I had to work as hard as I could because we were going to reach this time. We have reached this time. It's showtime, folks. And the world will be a lot better when we're through this, but it's going to be a kind of a wild ride. It'll take a special type of person to enjoy it. I'm planning to enjoy it, and I hope that you are all planning to enjoy it too. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. I'm just kind of babbling, but I wanted to share something. Thank you. Talk to you next week.